What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite pond, the Coy Pond, episode 119. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, K-Dog, for what is going to be another amazing episode of the Coy Pond. As you know, you can find us here on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and don't forget to leave a question on SpeakPipe. This might be the week to leave a question because the Hall of Fame is confusing, and we're going over it. Woohoo! St. Patrick's Day, right around the corner. Link in the description for the merch store. You never know what you might find in there, and you might just get lucky and find some amazing merch.
That's right. Patty O'Shea might be logging in to check out some green merch.
Patches O'Houlihan didn't die for nothing.
For nothing, yeah.
Nevertheless, this week we'll be talking about the Hall of Fame. If you listened to last week's episode, before we get into that, Miami basketball is ranked 22 and is still undefeated. It is glorious down in sunny Oxford, Ohio, as the boys are still rolling. There's some small amount of games left, 4 to 5 maybe, and we might have the boys going to the dance this year.
Oh.
Pretty crazy, honestly, from watching Miami basketball my freshman year, in which they were not good at almost anything. The hockey coach got fired, as I've said before, and that was the dark days, the beginning of the dark days. To see him now talked about as locks, very likely to get in March Madness, is
right.
What I should say. You know, there's been some discussion about what happens with Miami of Ohio. More people have been talking about them, calling them sleeper teams for the upcoming March Madness, the big dance. I'm just excited. I'm excited they might get the opportunity to win a game in March Madness, which not too long ago I would not have said that was very likely, but Coach Steele has the boys buzzing over there, and those games are fun to watch.
Yeah, did you see his quote today where he said the campus of Oxford was like being at Disneyland or Disney World or something?
Yeah, and then in the press conference for the Massachusetts they just played, he was like, "We love being the villain and coming in and ruining a vibe," or something like that. And it's like, oh my god,
this guy's entertaining.
He is, and it's funny that he was he was a coach at Xavier before this too.
Was he really?
Yeah, so he just went across town. Must have gotten sick of the city.
Didn't he recently say he was going to do something wacky if they went undefeated?
If they go undefeated, he made a promise to wear a Speedo.
There it was.
And it's because if you haven't paid attention to this, Miami swim team has been one of the biggest supporters of the basketball team early on, before it kind of became a whole thing and the students started coming back. I guess given it was J terms, they wouldn't have been there. But the swim team was there in Speedos, and only Speedos, just in the student section. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I love the atmosphere. It's nice to see the Millette halls getting packed and filled up. And, boy, they're winning games, but it's close until the end, and all of a sudden they win by 9. I don't know.
Have you felt compelled at all to go to Oxford for a game?
Very much. I actually got complimentary tickets in my email earlier today.
You did?
I did.
No kid.
I don't know if I'll do it, but
what's the game?
I don't know what that game was actually.
That's fine. Yeah, no worries.
You know, it was just a quick little look. I did take a gander. I think it was like on a Tuesday though, and it's like, I love Miami. February 21st.
It's Saturday.
Women's basketball game. Oh. Maybe I'll bleep that part out of the podcast. They've been doing good too, though.
Now you sound like George.
Oh, man. Nevertheless, great to see that the Red Hawks doing well. Hockey, ranked 21, not too bad.
It really is.
Hey,
no doubt.
Keep on soaring or some shit like that.
That's right.
Nevertheless, today we are talking about the NFL Hall of Fame.
Yes.
A very interesting subject.
Canton, Ohio, baby.
Canton, Ohio. I can't remember what the name of the team was in 61, 62, 63 that established them. I think it was decided in 61.
I think it was the Canton Bulldogs, if I remember right.
Yes. And I didn't do my research on the Dayton Triangles.
No worries.
But I think the Triangles came first, and then somehow the Bulldogs became the first NFL team.
The Dayton Triangles were the first professional football team, I believe.
That's what I thought, but there wasn't a league yet for it.
That's
so it was
correct.
more of a scrimmage or something.
Yep.
But then the Bulldogs, and then the city of Canton voted to hold, or somehow won the Hall of Fame, and then it just stayed and
went from there.
It's probably the only thing worth a damn in Canton anymore.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot there.
No offense to the Canton area.
None at all.
I'm sure all 5 of you will be in the comments, but crazy stuff.
Yeah, and I highly recommend, if you've never gone to the Hall of Fame, even if you went, I recommend going to an actual weekend of the Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony, because you get all the players there, you get the parade, you get you'll run into players just walking around like former greats. And it's quite an event. They really have turned it into a big deal. So if you've never been there, you should do it sometime. I've been up there twice for enshrinement weekends, and actually an additional time or two to just go through the Hall of Fame on an off weekend too.
That would be fun.
There's a lot of stuff to look at.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue into the Hall of Fame. We're going to start you out with the basics in case you're not a football fanatic and you like us for our personality. I don't know why you'd even be listening to this, but hey.
I do.
Oh, he's a sweet boy. But yeah, Hall of Fame, it has the busts of everybody that's ever been in the Hall of Fame. It has record-breaking items, the cleats worn by Larry Fitzgerald, by Justin Jefferson, the gloves someone else wore, the jersey of Justin Herbert from something I can't remember at this point, but just an absolute building of the NFL's history altogether.
Yeah.
They've got a little bit of everything. It looked like a pretty cool experience. I think they have a locker room speech now with a 3D hologram in it. I don't know if that was there when you were there. But
I don't remember that one, yeah.
I was looking through the maps of the tour and stuff. It looks pretty sweet, I'm not going to lie. But just an absolute NFL history, records, everything's contained in there.
Yep.
And so every year, you get new people elected into the Hall of Fame.
Very cool.
And because of the Bill Belichick fiasco, and it's the off-season, we need stuff to talk about, we thought, what better yet than to enlighten our lovely audience on what goes into it.
Yep.
What happens there.
Yep.
So I'm going to try and explain this as best I can, and if I get lost, Google exists. Every year, 4 to 8 people get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, who makes up this 4 to 8 changes because the coach might get it, the seniors might get it, or the contributor might get it. And then also you have modern era players as well. So that is where, just to start, where the Bill Belichick kind of conversation with Robert Kraft became a problem, as you saw in the sports media, is because out of the 5 of those people elected or put up for a vote in that situation, 3 have to make it. So it was quite the moment when neither Robert Kraft or Bill Belichick got it, but yet the 3 seniors. Just statistically crazy, honestly. And, just to talk a little bit about that, when you think about it, you dive into the what happens. Why did it get here? How did it get there? Maybe I'll save that for a little later.
We could do that.
Yeah, we'll do that. So, in the modern era, you start with a list of about 120 going into the summer. These are candidates that you at home could mail in a ballot to the Hall of Fame in Canton and say, I nominate so-and-so to be in the Hall of Fame. Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler, once they've been out of the league for 7, I think it is, years.
Something like that.
Somewhere in there. And they start with this huge list. Then they narrow it down with a vote from the committee of about 50 people to 25 members. I believe that 25 happens in about October. So they take an entire summer to notionally knock it down quite a bit. Yeah, October. There's a list of 25-ish members. From there, they knock it down to about 15 finalists in December. That way, going into what is the end of the NFL season, you should only have approximately 10. They go from 15 to 10 finalists. Then the final vote is that one to take it from 10 to about 7, or 10 to 7. How would that work? Then 10 to 7.
Yeah, roughly like that.
15 to 10, then 10 to 7. At that point, vote for 5 of the remaining finalists. Oh, and that's why you get the weird number, because you have to receive a minimum vote of 80%. So you have 4 to 8 inductees. You have 5 seniors and 80% of the vote. You can only select 3. And then I'm trying to make the math work.
Yeah.
Because if you have 7 players that all have to reach at least an 80%, so that's where the variable comes in.
Okay.
3 people have to make it from the seniors, and then they have to have at least 80% from the final 7.
Okay.
So that's where you can have anywhere from 5 to...
That's why it varies so widely.
Yes. Got it. Okay. So
there you go.
So when the list finally goes down from 10 to 7, and they finally vote for 5 of the remaining 7 finalists, any finalist that receives a minimum vote of 80% is elected. That's where you get, and that's modern era players, I believe. That's where you get this variance, because they have to have a minimum vote of 80%.
Okay.
You're not necessarily going to elect everyone in there, or you're not, but you're also not going to elect only 3 or 4 of the finalists, because 3 of the 5 seniors elected will make it in as well. So that combines for your inductees for that year.
That makes sense.
So the modern era players being Luke Kuechly, Larry Fitzgerald, Drew Brees, maybe someone else I'm sure I'm forgetting. But then you have those senior members that made it this year over Kraft and Belichick.
Okay.
And that process is how you get your final Hall of Fame inductees. I explained that terribly. I'm sure someone in the comments could do it better, or it's just as confusing if you read about it, quite honestly.
Yeah.
It's not explained. They almost need a flow chart.
It really
I need a Gantt chart to show how all of this flows together, because it is a little confusing, because it's like two entities, modern era, not modern era.
Right.
Classics. It's like classic is modern. And then they slowly form by the Super Bowl week, because they have that whole moment before Super Bowl, I think it was, or at halftime.
where they announce it.
And you have your players, and all of this becomes a huge deal, essentially.
Yeah.
Now, we have that covered. Who makes up the committee? I've got answers. The committee is public access. Whoever wants to find it can find it on their website. It shows you who they are, what team they're for, and what media outlet they represent, necessarily. You have one person for each team, 32, and then you have an additional committee that's the at-larges.
Okay.
What did we say the at-larges?
Didn't we say that those were like contributors? Like
Yeah.
they were significant contributors, either broadcasting, former players. They play a role somehow in maybe something with the league.
You have one for each team that's a media...
like a reporter.
Some sort of has a media outlet. But then you have this at-large selection of 17 people that can either be Hall of Famers or media members, and more importantly, it can be past players, they could be past executives, past any NFL representative.
Yeah, past reporters.
Yes. Yeah. And then they also have media people, too, that mix in here that they interview for, so that you get a wide diverse of votes.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at the list you've got here, I mean, you have Tony Dungy as an example. You have Dan Fouts. You have Lindsey Jones, who I've never heard of in my life.
Yeah.
Then you've got like Alex Marvez, who we've seen before and heard of. Sal Palantonio, who's a popular broadcaster, and Lisa Salters, who does sideline reporting for ESPN Monday Night Football.
Love her.
Such a strange combination, though.
And it's funny because they stressed on the website so much while I was doing some of the research for our little episode here, and they really do come up with quite the diverse selection. Yeah. And it makes sense. I like it for the sake of, these people that are voted in definitely got the votes they deserve, because so many different types of people, so many different players versus people that just watched it growing up versus people, you get that vote that has to be anonymously, we agree on this person.
Right.
And that's how the Hall of Fame should be, quite honestly.
Yeah.
It should be, yes, we're all in agreement. Yes, the public agrees. And that's why it's so crazy that Belichick and Kraft both didn't get in.
Right.
Now, let's kind of dip, dive, dodge, duck, and dip back into that conversation of what could have happened. Because we did a little bit of that too, because that's where this stemmed from. So let's explore the concepts of what may have happened to Senor Belichick, and why somehow, they have this diverse group of people.
Yep.
One for each team, so you'd expect the Colts guys never to vote for Belichick.
Right.
But also you'd expect the Patriots guys too, and most NFL fans in general. Why didn't Belichick get in? First theory, some people may have already thought, regardless of their vote, Belichick made it in.
Right.
Meaning, if I'm on the committee and I'm laid out with these 5 people, because he's not going against the modern era players, and I see these 3 classic past players, Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, I'm automatically thinking everyone is going to vote Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick. Therefore, I'll be the good person. I feel like these 3 should deserve it. Who knows? I'll vote for them. That if everybody did that, or did a combination of that, it's a real easy way not to get into the Hall of Fame in that way.
Right.
It'd be a crazy circumstance that would occur if everyone went in with the same idea, and that's what happened.
It's possible.
But it's possible right now. He's not in there right now.
And there were some people that mentioned, some of the voters, I think, did make comments about, they were cagey about it, like Bill Polian, but they did say things like, I voted for this person because I figured they were voted for. So there was some comments to that extent.
Yeah, and
they say something without saying something.
Exactly. And for what it's worth, there's a chance a mixture of all three of these are the reason why they didn't get in, which leads perfectly into people caring more about these seniors getting in than him. A lot of people made comments, I think, one person made comments alluding to, we don't know how many more times they'll be put up for a vote.
Right.
And while that is an interesting way to view it, if they're not already in already,
right,
that's very possible. If there's some older heads, and we saw Dan Fouts, you saw some people that were in the league a while back.
Yep.
They might be like, going up against him, he was that good.
And again, I don't know. I mean, how long before they are not eligible? Do we know that? Is it like 10 years after you're done playing? And you don't have to necessarily look it up, but
right.
It's just kind of an interesting. So there is a shelf life to it, I guess, which is really interesting. Like for me as a Cowboys fan, Darren Woodson not getting in, I thought he should be in. Wonder how many more years he has before he loses his shot.
Yeah, and it is interesting because they don't allude to it too much of it being like if they don't get in by this many times being nominated, they can never get back in.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting if that is the case. I'll put a little blurb up if it is.
Because when you think about it, I mean, there's 32 teams now. There's 50 players on a roster times the history of the NFL, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got a shit ton of players to be selecting from.
And there's been different eras, different stats that held more weight than others, like passing yards up until like the 2010s. Way more, less is more.
Right.
These days, we have 5 people going for 4,000 yards a season.
Right.
Which would look incredible by comparison to players that played decades ago.
Exactly. So maybe that's the reason for the senior category, in the modern era category, to try to put them more relative to the way the game is being played they played.
I would hope and assume, and just to correct myself, it is the same with coaches, contributors, and seniors, where you have to receive 80% of the vote to get in.
Just like modern era players.
Just like the modern era players. Okay. I think I might have said early on that you had 3 of the 5 will get elected.
Yep.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
So that's why if you do have a lot of people voting for those old heads and not as much for Belichick, these odds, and I don't know the math off the top of my head, they could have all ended up with like 50, 62, 75. Green hit 82.
Right.
And then Kraft had 73, and then you got back down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a way that all of these mesh together, and you end up just screwing everybody over.
And again, let's face it. I mean, when you look at some of the names on this list, these are some high character people.
Yes,
right?
We got some personalities.
So when you look at like at the at large list, Tony Dungy. I mean, would anybody say that he's not a high character guy?
Let alone who he played it against a lot in the NFL.
Bill Polian, certainly a high character kind of guy. James Lofton. High character. So these people are looking at this probably very, very scrutinizing that person. Are they a high character person?
Yeah.
Meaning, did they respect the game? Did they respect all elements of the game? And like we talked about earlier, Belichick in his press conferences, let's compare him to Bill Parcells, his mentor.
Yeah.
Bill Parcells was kind of cagey too, but Bill Parcells went about it a different way, whereas Bill Belichick would just stop talking,
right? Shut
it down.
When you think back on those interviews, in a lot of circumstances, it was very short with the media. It was very, maybe not necessarily rude. That may not have been it every time, but didn't give him much to work with. And guess what? Guess who's on this committee? A lot of those people.
That's right. You throw in there Spygate.
Yep.
You throw in there
Deflategate.
And now, as an organization, that's where Kraft probably gets tied into it.
I would assume.
They're looking at this and they're like, yeah, they won all these Super Bowls, but,
who believes what? Because, I'm
right.
sure all of these people have opinions on the matter.
And again, whether those things are a fact or not, we'll never know.
Right.
But where there's smoke, there's fire.
Exactly.
And people are going to use that.
I completely agree. And
there's no doubt.
And that's the third point of what may have happened is punishing a cheater. Now, I'm not saying that as in I believe he cheated. I'm saying that as in the claims were made, the suspensions were deliberated. They were, oh my God, what am I trying to say?
Carried out.
Carried out.
Yeah.
Suspensions were carried out. And that point of it is interesting because it ties right into what you were saying, that at one point Polians was accused of starting a little ring of people not to vote for Kraft or Belichick, or at least Belichick from what I read.
Yeah.
That was proven false for what it's worth. But who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, all that would take is like 3 groups of 3 in here to be like, fuck them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And again, a lot of this, one of the things I heard is, is somebody trying to, influence other voters to vote for their guy this year, will vote for your guy next year.
Yeah.
So you've got all that campaigning, if you will, going on for the different candidates. And so, I don't know.
It is quite the interesting feat, and we will probably never know what happened to this because of how hush-hush it is. I believe the voters have a 2-year term limit, and then they're switched out with someone else.
Yeah.
It's a good system that is slowly improving, but this year showed a lot of flaws in it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if flaws is the right word, because it almost feels like it was the perfect storm of what would be considered great football minds that just didn't get in.
Right.
And regardless of the points I just made about why did Belichick not get in, potentially, I still believe he should have been in.
Right.
Now, all that being said, it's what a set of circumstances that this could have been.
Yeah.
Altogether.
There really ought to be a movie about it someday, because it would be really interesting. I mean, and then you factor in him going back to college.
Yep.
So how was that perceived?
The 23-year-old girlfriend.
The 23-year-old girlfriend.
24. The younger girlfriend.
The young girlfriend. And how does that look? And again, you are a representative of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
They always talk about protecting the shield.
Yep.
So it'd be interesting, like the commissioner,
Goodell,
he doesn't have a vote, right?
No.
But does he have influence on this?
He might. And
where does he come down on this stuff?
Yeah. It really is interesting. And I guess as the commissioner, he's supposed to be in charge of the league and completely absent from any bias, right?
Yeah.
But
there's no way.
I'd say there's no way, but I also wonder if the Hall of Fame, if it's some sort of separate entity, because it does have its own commissioner.
Right.
What were they pushing for?
Right.
What did those meetings look like for the committees? How many people paid attention for Belichick? Was it a clear thing in those rooms and those meetings for each one of these candidates?
Yeah.
Did no one care to vote them in?
Yeah.
Or did it feel like everyone did, so then no one voted for him?
Yeah, that's right.
It is a crazy set of circumstances. He'll get in. I mean,
yeah.
It won't be first ballot, obviously.
Right.
But he'll get in just fine, as long with Robert Kraft. They have too many Super Bowls to even really discuss the idea of them somehow never making it in.
Right.
But is this the punishment for the cheating?
Yeah. It sure seems like it, doesn't it?
It definitely does.
And for just the lack of character,
mm-hmm.
Again, true or not, where there's smoke, there's fire. So
yes.
The perceived potential lack of, and again, the slight tarnish of the shield, if you will.
I agree. And it felt like, look from the outside looking in, obviously from us, we didn't really ever get a character of Belichick until he started going on the Pat McAfee show last football season.
Right, that's right.
And that's when it started being like, oh, so he does have jokes.
Right.
Oh, he is a human being.
Right.
But for the longest time, and maybe there's something to be said about the reporters. I'm sure there were pictures that weren't flattering that they used. Not that he was a peach to look at.
Right.
And I'm sure there's probably quotes they took out of context to be fair to him.
Right.
But also all those media video cameras, all those clips we saw of Bill Belichick at the podium, a lot of them were not very insightful. It was very short. So it just is funny to come full circle, and now they're the ones voting on him.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows where anybody of these started, because it was anywhere between, would that have been like 4 to 15 years ago? Anywhere in that range, any of these reporters could have covered any team.
Yeah.
And who knows how many of them started with the Patriots or worked their way up and then moved cities. There's so many variables into this.
Yep.
It could happen.
No, it's pretty intriguing. And a little side note, I have never heard of Talk of Fame Network. I don't even know what the hell that is.
No, and I was impressed they had one. Because, I mean, a lot of these big cities, local media, that's more than you need. But you see a lot of these on the list, and you can look this up on the Hall of Fame website and find the thing. But you have, like, The Athletic. Everyone knows that. But then you have...
Outkick?
Yeah, Outkick.
I mean,
was
what the hell is Outkick? I mean, Sports Illustrated, obviously.
Well, Paul Kurowski has his own URL at least. But fan-sided, I have no idea.
Gary Myers' author.
Outkick, yeah, you're right. Someone does just on Outkick. It's just interesting. I don't know.
It really is.
it's funny that it can be anybody in the city representing the NFL.
Yeah.
And they can, as long as it's in the same city as the team, it works. The Sports Exchange, cool name.
You know, I'm not surprised. I mean, Ross Ketover, I've never heard that name, but obviously we've all heard of NFL Films.
Yeah.
You know, and those great highlight videos that they've made forever. And Ed Sable, I think, started that, and his son Steve Sable. I think they're both in the Hall of Fame.
They should
as
be
contributors.
NFL's one of the best.
But that makes a ton of sense that they would have somebody on there voting as well.
Yeah.
So
if they're the ones that have to constantly watch it,
yeah,
for the love of God, put one on.
Yeah, no doubt. But yeah, really interesting stuff. Great job of putting this together, Colin. Yeah. It was, you know, again, we all jump on the bandwagon and the polarization of he should get in, he shouldn't get in, whoever it is. And it's really interesting to have a little bit more food here to consider as far as how it actually works and not just how we think it should work.
Yeah, and there's subcommittees. And I didn't really touch on this much, but throughout this process from summer to the next Super Bowl week, there are committees constantly lobbying for their guys to make it. Someone, I think, runs the committee. They talk about them. They explain why they should get in, and they go. And it's just like a constant flow of this. I think more like in October and December when they get down to a smaller amount of voters or inductees potentially nominated. But it is a crazy process that goes so in depth. And, you know, leave a comment if you enjoyed it. It's an interesting process if you like the NFL.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I think we'll do in the off season. Maybe this is a great example of digging into something that, you know, really doesn't get dug into and explained to educate the viewers.
Yeah.
But it's something very visible. It's something very confusing.
Yeah, it is.
And
Trust
you know,
me.
if we can dig out some things like this in the off season to kind of educate our viewers, I think that would really be a great direction for us to go.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, if you guys want a part 2 of this, we can dig into each one of these careers and see what might have happened.
Yeah.
Because that would be a fun video to do for a podcast is, you know, the answer to what happened to Belichick.
Yeah.
To find out if 15 to 25 of these 50 all somehow started in New England as media reporters.
Right.
They weren't players and went from there.
That's right.
Because we can't find the votes, obviously.
Right.
But it'd be fun to dive in a little deeper when we had more time, or else this would be an hour-long podcast today.
That's true.
We'd be going through each one of these names for each city, then the at-large, and the Blue Ribbon Committee. It's very interesting.
Be a little bit like Oliver Stone doing the JFK stuff and going back and, you know, figuring out the magic bullet and these things, you know.
You guys I'm gonna start the video, and there's gonna be a whiteboard with all my red strings attached to different events that led to Bill Belichick's first ballot Hall of Fame vote being demised.
That's right.
But it is crazy. If you guys want to know more, let us know. Maybe we'll do another video and just go through each person.
Yeah.
Could
be interesting. We got plenty of time.
Do a little sleuthing.
Right.
Obviously, mock drafts coming up and stuff of that nature, but I think that's all we got for this video.
I think that's great, man.
We're just going to keep it easy. If it was confusing, leave a comment. I'll answer it. If I did a terrible job, let me know in the comments as well. And we will see you all next week on the Coy Pond. Peace.